Well, here, seeing that we have 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call this to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and we will start with roll call. Brent?
Here.
Guy?
Here.
Ken?
Here.
Nate? Here. And Jeff is here. I did not see any public comment. All right, we have none. So then we will get kicked off with a student council update. Welcome back.
Hello. Homecoming went very well, especially with our different venue this year. I heard a lot of good comments about it, which is awesome. And even though our homecoming game didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, everybody still had a great time and it was very fun. We've kicked off already on our new project, which is the Halloween Bash, which we partner with both the police department and PPO for it. The police department will provide candy and they'll be there supervising, and PPO does face paint, and then student council, students do the rest, like the little games. And it's mainly just for kids to kind of get candy before they go trick-or-treating, which they don't need, but it's okay. So yeah, that's what we're working on right now, which will be held in the elementary school gym on Saturday at 1 p.m.
And then trick-or-treating is 3 till 6?
I believe so.
Are they looking to have homecoming again there next year? Or
That
is it
we're not sure, because we definitely got the venue because there was a cancellation. So we're not exactly sure on the pricing. It may be way more expensive than what we paid for it. But if not, we'll always have something else to fall back on.
I spoke with the owners of the place and they were pretty tickled pink to have kids out there.
Oh,
I think
yeah?
Yeah, I think they were a little bit nervous at first because there's a bunch of kids and stuff, but they thought, they really liked it. They really enjoyed it.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're an older group, they're an older couple, and yeah, they felt like grandparents, they said. Kids, so,
Yeah. But yeah, it went very well, so
awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, and we will move on to celebrate Fall River.
All right, we have our third grade team here. Come on up. So we have the Master Gardener program that our third graders are doing. We have 2 students and our teachers here to talk about that. Go ahead, guys. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, thanks for having us. So this is the 3rd year that we have done this. There was 1 year that we didn't do it in between there. But the Columbia County Master Gardeners have reached out to us to see if we would like them to come in, and they teach. About 6 volunteers came into our class, and we had both classes together, and they taught us a little bit about plants and about gardening, and we just learned some fun information. And then the really cool part, though, was that we got to plant our very own micro farm. So we're gonna let the girls kind of talk about that a little bit. So Maggie, what did we do? So we have Maggie and Hannah here. Maggie, what did we do when they came in? So they taught us about it, and then we got in our groups, and what happened?
We got to put the dirt in the little container things, and then we made lines for each stick and seeds. So we put the sticks in that they had each name of the vegetables, and then we put the seeds in, and then we watered the plants.
Okay, and then Hannah, what kinds of crops are we growing in our micro farm?
Salad types.
Do you remember any of the names of them? I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Yeah, we have the paper actually. Remember what we all planted?
We had carrots, lettuce, spinach, beets, turnip, red lettuce, bib lettuce, Swiss chard, kale, and ding.
And so then, this was about 3.5 weeks ago, so we've gotten our good garden going. And now in a couple of weeks, the master gardeners are going to come back, and girls, what are we gonna do?
We're gonna eat them.
We're gonna eat it. We're gonna harvest all of our crops, and we're gonna make a big salad. And so it's just a really fun way for kids to get to experience growing some things and seeing where it starts from this teeny little seed, and then to where we get to eat it. So, anything else you girls wanted to add that we talked about?
We had to do step by step so they actually grew well.
Right. And they gave us this cool wagon that it's set on a timer do you girls remember, are the lights on all the time? They're on all the time when we see them. But do you remember what she told us about why they shouldn't have lights on them all the time?
Because they could get overheated and they could overgrow.
And they need to rest, right? Just like we need to rest. So lots of really fun things that the kids are learning, and it's kind of a fun cycle they get to go through.
Do either of you have gardens at home?
Yeah.
You do?
I used to live there. I harvest them.
You already harvested yourself.
My garden's on too.
So now it's kind of fun that we get to have some fresh stuff again, right? Okay.
Now you got, and I know what to do next year to help, right?
That's right, for sure.
So Maggie and Hannah, I just want to thank you for coming tonight. I'm sure you're busy, and lots to do tonight, so thank you for being here, and thank you, Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Mickelson. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is Columbia County Master Gardeners, are they affiliated with the county?
Yes.
They are.
Yep, so they have to go through like a whole certification process. They like do classes, and they have to take this big test to be certified as a master gardener. And then this is one of their outreach programs they do. They go out to schools. They have a few of these little wagons, and they do this in the schools. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
We're gonna take our little.
Thank you, girl.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks for coming and thanks for that. It's always great to see the kids come to the meetings. So we'll move on. So in our board packet today was the minutes from the September 17th meeting. If there are any questions, if not, I'll go ahead and take a motion to approve said minutes.
I'll put a motion for Jeff to approve the last month's minutes.
We have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to a treasurer's report.
You captured two pages there. Updating the budget after the revenue limit sheets this week. We didn't see anything that was sticking out. The numbers you will always see this year is the 300 purchase services are going to be higher as we do referendum projects. And in Fund 39, the payments are going to be higher because we're paying off more debt now. Otherwise, everything else is about where we expected it this year. And I say Andrew and I went through the entire budget to make sure we felt that things are where they're supposed to be. And you'll get that in a little bit tonight for adopting the final budget for the year.
For those of you listening in, that is Dennis with a fun new voice. All right, any questions for Dennis? All right, then I will take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to accept it, Jeff.
All right, we have a motion by Guy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, motion passes. Also in our package, we had both payroll and voucher detail. So having reviewed that line by line detail, I will go ahead and make the motion to accept payroll for 10/30 through 11/14 and vouchers 428-179 through 428-352 and 2025-00101 through 2025-00141 and 252-600-029 through 252-600-046 in the amount of $664,760.37.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Jeff.
And we have a motion by Jeff, seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to gifts and donations.
For this month, we had PPO donate a new camera for the art department. Some more trap team donations by Rupert Chiropractic and Keith Miller. A band donation by F&M Union Bank, and then the Columbus Area Endowment of Madison Community Foundation made a donation for a new sink for Mrs. Litherland's classroom.
All right. Thank you for that. We had a couple committees meet. We'll start with the policy committee.
Right, so Dr. Treptow is unable to be here tonight, so I believe that all of you have the policies that were included in your board packet. So I asked to be a fly on the wall one day when they were going through the policies. So Dennis and Andrea also can probably speak to a lot of what we will go through. In the past, have you typically gone policy by policy, or do you do it where you just ask any questions that you might have?
Guy and Brent, did you want to talk about the policy meeting at all, or?
Well, obviously, there was a lot more than 2 pages that we went through, but most of it's just a few wording, a word change here and there. The consent agenda, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, we'll talk,
Yeah.
Maria can talk about that one.
So the consent agenda is where you clump a few things together and you have the option to pull those out and discuss them separately, or you can just say that I would like to present the consent agenda for approval. It doesn't mean that you can't speak to those items individually, but you would move to approve them as one large chunk instead of approving each of them on a line item by line item basis. And so.
You wouldn't have to read all those numbers, or we can just add that to the consent agenda.
You got me sold on that point alone.
Yeah.
All right, passed.
So it sounds like a lot of the things that we had talked about adding in the consent agenda were the bills, it was other routine items, gifts and donations. Andrea, what?
I think we decided not to do gifts and donations.
Okay.
It's whatever's highlighted in green on that sheet.
So other routine items as
Yep,
presented.
So it should be A, B, and then other items.
Okay, so the minutes from the previous board meeting, B would be bills for payment, and then L would be other routine items as presented by the district administrator.
Okay.
So, part of the handing off of future responsibilities, in case you don't remember, I'm handing off policy to Jennifer. So she's now in charge of that, but she's not here tonight, so, but before that meeting, us and Jennifer and Maria sat together, and I went through the packet like I would do it at a policy meeting. So I kind of previewed it for her, said, this is how I go through it, this is what I do, and now you do it with the policy committee. So that's part of the training that we're trying to do with each other.
And then next month, we'll bring those policies for a first reading, so you have time to look over them before we approve them.
All right.
And Brent and Guy, those 2 pages were just updates to the policies I gave you at the meeting.
Yeah.
So those are the changes that we
And
made.
I'm looking at this last one, I think we decided that if a person graduated a year early, they could walk down with the class.
Yes, so Jennifer wanted that wording to match the handbook exactly. So that's what we did with that policy. As far as graduating early, they can either walk with their cohort class or with their when they graduate early. So it's up to them.
Because we're gonna have some kids graduate
Yeah.
a whole year early. So we'll let them walk down with that class instead of the class that they were originally in.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, and then we'll move on to the Building and Grounds Committee. Do you want to give an update?
Yeah, we had a meeting tonight, going, over the budget. The one big takeaway for budget on the referendum, I would say the one really big takeaway was the generator. We had in here, $100,000. I'm not gonna say what the bids are coming in at, but we're certainly, we're finding some cost savings there. So that's another positive.
we went and looked at the pool. The pool looks awesome. The one question I'll ask, because we were talking about it, are there new steps for the pool? Are those new? The railings?
The railings are stainless steel and we clean them down in there.
Okay.
We're reinstalling old ones.
Okay, are they gonna fit? Have you seen if they would fit with the drains being farther out? Are they do.
Sized the holes for the.
Oh, okay, awesome, okay. Really, there was some referendum talk as far as, as far as the classrooms, the layouts, some things shifting around, but really, big picture-wise, everything seems to be, on track and right now, in budget. So, yeah, I know that, I guess that's a district, there's probably a little bit more legwork being done. Getting some of our own contractors to come in and give us bids for that, for some of the stuff in the new addition, trying to get more local businesses involved in it so that they can kind of have a piece of the pie and have some sweat equity or, some skin in the game, as kind of a thank you to, obviously, the referendum passing. So, other than that, I think that big picture-wise, that's.
That last thing is really important because board members and us put together a list of contractors who live in the district who could be bidding on this to give them that opportunity. So we're trying to help local contractors. If they can come up with a good bid and have the capacity to do the work, they should get a chance to bid.
Yep.
All right, we will use that then, because I know there's a lot of overlap in building and grounds and referendum, but we'll move on to the referendum report.
You've got the sheet that I gave you last time, and it's gonna look a lot alike each time, so what I did is boxed in what is new. So you can see what's changed from last time, because you're not gonna remember a month ago what happened, so I will continue to box in. And the biggest thing is after development, the budget is right now $197,774 under the expected. Front entrance was a little bit higher, but the total package is still $197,744 under what we expected before it goes to bid. That's just their estimates now. The bids will tell us a whole lot more later on, but that's a good sign as we get started, because there's lots of projects need to be done. And I also can start showing you this one now, which is the second page that I gave you. It's the owner's soft costs. And we're starting to track these, what has been spent so far. This is in your packet that Andrea, I gave you this in Buildings and Grounds tonight. Yeah, that was in Buildings and Grounds tonight. I just didn't get to it. Well, we're starting to track our part of the costs. And then as Findor starts expending things, and after we get bids, Andrea, Colleen, and I will be able to put something like this together for Findor's part of the project. But their 1.75 million is our soft costs, and you see we've incurred some survey and geotech and some legal fees already, and they've got their different times when they SD construction budget, DD construction budget, so they tweak them a little bit. And what happened between SD construction, DD construction, they want to keep the 1.75 in our hands. They've spread it out to different things. For instance, you can see the equipment for tech ed and art. They added another $8,500 to that, $6,500 to that, and they tweaked them a little bit. So as things went up, things went down. They put things with moving. We're not sure we're going to need those moving costs, but we have extra money possibly there if something else goes over or there are other needs we discover. And still there's a $280,000 contingency in the owner soft cost beyond the contingency that's in theirs. And as we go to each step, those contingencies get smaller because more is known. But the biggest part is we've been really fine-tuning the exact plan, the equipment, the furniture, the layout, the doors, and the diagram that you guys saw in my office that were there earlier. So we're getting very, very close to the blueprint. On November 4th, we're going to have what they call the page turn. And then by the 14th, PRA will have all the bid documents submitted to Findorf so they can go out to bid. So we're getting close to actually something happening. Besides just all the background work, but without the background work, you all know. Nothing's going to go well unless you've done a lot of background. So I want to thank everybody sitting here for all their help. And you guys have been on the board. You've been helping with that too. So we appreciate your assistance so we make sure we get what we planned on.
Any questions for Dennis or the team on referendum? I just want to thank you. I know one of the most common questions I got when we were doing the referendum was just transparency and, how do we know that we're going to deliver what we said we were? And so I think we're doing a good job both kind of showing the before, the after, the monthly as we go. So I do appreciate just the transparency in the process.
Like I said, when FinDar starts doing things, we can start adding that as another spreadsheet. We'll probably end up having 3 sheets monthly.
Yep.
Coming soon.
All right, very good. Then we will move on to new business and pupil count.
So there's 2 sheets here, the pupil count. I'll start with this one that's got all the years of our enrollment, and I'll kind of go through what some of the numbers are so you can understand what they are. I added the far right column for cohort change. After we talked one time, we talked about this and thought that might be helpful. So the 6 in the far right column, that is the change from 5K this year, but compared to 4K last year. The -3 is the first graders this year compared to kindergarten last year. So as they moved up a grade, what happened to their numbers? You can see we had a 51 student senior class graduate last year, but we had pretty solid numbers of 35 4Kers coming in. So that number really helped us. And open enrollment, we'll see in another spot, really, really helped us. We had 483 students in our seats last year. We had 490 this year. So we were pretty tickled that we lost that big senior class and went up 7 students. And you look at 490, that's fairly comparable. We had a couple years in 22 and 23 that were a little higher, but 490 is the highest number going back until you get back to 2014. We had that. So it went down for a bit, it had a little bubble up, and it's been better than maybe we would have thought. The FTE count, which is what we do with our revenue limits, is actually down 15. That means there's 15 less kids living in the district. It doesn't matter where they go to school, they just live in this district. But the reason we can be up is those 4K kids, but down below, the open enrollment, last year, I underlined these 2 so you can catch them. Last year, I had 83 kids in and 69 out for a positive difference of 14. This year, there's 96 kids in, 67 out for a positive 29. And you look back just a few years ago to all those red numbers, the worst was probably 18, 19, and it's been steadily getting better or staying the same last year, the year before. As we went to referendum last time, we talked about if that hadn't happened, we'd have had to go on a referendum 3, 4, 5 years ago. We'd have been out of money. But figure 10,000 per kid from -64 to positive 29, that's almost $1 million. Less expenditures, more revenue net. That's saved our district from going to referendum a long time ago. So trying to make this a place that kids want to be, parents want their kids to be in, and the teachers want to stay, as evidence with our turnover this year. I also then put in Columbus just to kind of show there was a really negative a while ago. It's fluctuated the recent couple years, but 43 in this year, 48 out, a little better than the year before. And then I thought you may want to see the difference with some other local schools. Beaver Dam, we're plus 13. You thank Maria for a couple of those. Partyville, we're plus 2. Randolph, plus 5. Rio, no, there's where Maria's kids are in Randolph. Rio, plus 8. Sun Prairie, plus 9. Cambria, plus 2. Waupun, plus 3. Some of our outs are virtual schools, kids that just don't fit in a school. They want to be virtual. That's where some of them are. There's maybe a handful of those. Some is like 48 to Columbus out of 67. There's only 19 kids besides that. So that's where most of our kids are gone. The second sheet, I think, is something we think that you would be interested in or wanted to see, is just the ins and the outs by grade level. I didn't do a cohort change on this one, but if you go diagonally, you can kind of see where the biggest numbers were. Back in 2019, the big outs were 7 through 12. And the next year it was 8 through 12, and then 9 through 12, and then most of your senior class. And there's still more kids in the high school open and rolled out than there are in the elementary. And those elementary kids, there's less likely we're going to have those higher numbers continue. So when we do our Baird model here coming forward, we think the 67 out is probably as high as it's going to get. It might actually go down a little bit. Andrew and I'll be working on that here soon. And then the ins, we've gotten a lot of high school kids in lately. If you look at the numbers there, and plus in 5K, we've got 10 in kids. When you look at these numbers in kindergarten, that's 1 out of every 3 kindergartners is open and rolled in. Overall, the whole school, I think I mentioned this last time, 1 out of every 5 kids in a class are open enrolled in. The parents have chosen Fall River to educate their students, so that's a really, really positive thing. But when you look at the numbers per grade level, it's pretty consistent. It's not, I mean, there's a couple of 10s, but the lowest is a 4, and then a couple 4s, and a bunch of 5s, 6, 7, 8. It's fairly consistent grade by grade. We aren't seeing, like, when they hit middle school, in or out, a whole bunch change. We aren't getting that as much anymore, where I think it used to be that case. So that gives you a little idea where the pupil count's going, and this has all been factored into the budget that you'll see later on today.
Is there any statistical data out there from, and maybe Findorf would know this, of districts that have added on the CTE areas and what their numbers start to look like in years after the addition? Like, do they, I mean, Findorf is doing all that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever asked them if they have data on that. We always wondered with the ball fields, and we know of a few kids, yeah, they want to play ball up there. I can name a couple that said, I want to be on this field. But you look at when we built the ball fields and our negative open enrollment, that's when it was really starting to turn around.
Yep.
Then I came here in 2021 as we finished the ball fields. So there's been a big change in that. I think I've gotten wind of at least a couple of kids I know of already to say, when that gets built, I'm going there to school. I've heard that from a local district.
Yes, and I would say that I've heard kids say that to friends,
Yep.
that, and I wonder what that is, or if there's, I don't know what that.
It can't hurt.
Can't hurt, right?
No. So this has been huge for us.
Yeah, I've heard people just, even, I've just heard people saying that, yeah, I don't know if there's there's a marketing piece to that or not.
Well,
but
I don't know, but we're gonna have to have a big open house and invite every local community and come see what's going on here in Fall River. Can't hurt.
No, it can't.
Doing a quick search, it says adding a CTE lab has a strong potential to improve student engagement and program participation.
Doing AI there, sir?
No.
All right, any questions on the pupil count? Thank you, great numbers.
Awesome.
All right, we'll move on to state testing.
So I'm giving you something like this. This will be the first time I give you a sheet like this to kind of give you some comparison. It may take a little time for you to really look through and see, but you've got Fall River, third grade, English, language, arts, and math, and then eighth grade and fourth grade, they do a couple extra tests, and then pre-ACT and ACT down below. So Fall River is your first column, the state average. Then I got Cambria, Columbus, Marcus Ann, Randolph, Ryle, and Beaver Dam. It's just some local schools, some bigger, but at least those kind of comparable to us. Next month, we'll probably have state report card data, and then I go out a little bit wider with the data, but this is, it's still a one-sheeter you can look at and see where we stand. But anytime you see a red, it's below the state average. If it's black, it's either at or above the state average. And sometimes it's a grade of kids. And Ryan and Jennifer and Maria have the last 2 years' data. So they try to look at, well, our fourth grade this year, then their fifth graders, then their sixth graders, trying to look at those cohorts to see what's going on with them. They've been digging over a lot of data to look into that. Then when you get down, when you get to ACT, I've got the composite, like our ACT score was 19.8 on average compared to the state 19.2. You can see how our ACT compared to some of the other local schools, and then the breakdown of the different subjects. And then I did tests above the state average. So on 20 of the 28 tests I listed here, we were above the state average. And then Cambria 15, Columbus 20, Marcus Ann 17, Randolph 12, Ryle 20, and Beaver Dam 13. Well, that's one way to look at. Another way I thought was, well, if we're just barely at the state average, you're above, but if you're way above, it should be more valuable. So that's what I have down, the total difference. There's a whole other spreadsheet doing the calculations to the side of this, that this 223 for us is the total above or below the state average. We are, if you put all the tests together, our score is 223 points above all the totals of the state averages. And you can see where the others were on that number. We hit the highest. So if you really blow it out and have a really huge number, it gives you more. If you were close to the state average but didn't pass, well, it hurts you a little bit, but doesn't hurt you as much as if they bombed that test. So it just gives you a little bit of comparison. And so we are on average 8 points above the state average. If you do all the tests, our score is 8 points above the state average through all the tests, all 28 tests.
I like it. Yeah, I always continue to have concerns about middle school math. I think those have been like that for the last several years, but,
We've had discussions about many things.
I have a few notes from Dr. Treptow, and she specifically kind of addressed some of those things. So on average, in the state, there is typically a slide from 5th grade to 6th grade as students adjust to a different type of structure for classes. So they're going from one classroom teacher all day to moving out and about throughout the building and having a different teacher for every class. So if we looked at the state as a whole, we do typically see a downward trend from 5th grade to 6th grade in terms of both math and ELA. So the other thing though that we are looking at is we have a teacher who was teaching without a curriculum previously, and so this is now his second or third year with the curriculum. So we're continuing to still provide support on implementing that curriculum and then potentially accessing some outside resources on how can we make that curriculum stronger for those middle school students. The other thing is that we are trying to work with Mr. Crombie and Miss Ikeda, and then Miss Smith actually is doing a research capstone project on how we can make that transition for middle schoolers easier from 5th grade to 6th grade, knowing that it is a difficult time for a lot of them. So this year we did a little bit at open house, and then next year we're going to expand that a little bit more. In that note, I'm taking some teachers, or we're going together to CISA 5, and it's specifically about middle school, and hopefully we'll get some good ideas and be able to brainstorm and problem solve some issues that we have specific to middle school and kind of come back with some ideas of things that we can try and implement next year to try and address that. We're also working on our vertical alignment, and so we're using AI for some of that, but we're looking at where are our gaps or where are redundancies. And so I think once we kind of hone in on what are those gaps and redundancies, then we can use that extra, maybe we have some time left over, and what do we need to spend more time on teaching. And then I think just working on some really strong core instruction, and that's what we've been doing with CISA 5, and we have Kelly and Sarah come in from CISA, and they're providing some instruction on universal design for learning, and then how do we also support students with our MTSS system so that we're still giving really good quality, solid instruction, but then how do we pull up those other students who need some other interventions and supports while not leaving them behind. So we have to pull them all up at the same time and then provide some other intensive supports to some other students. And so we're working with CISA to do that. Hopefully our vertical alignment, because now we're done with a lot of our other curriculum work. Now we're to the nitty gritty vertical alignment and where we're missing anything so that we can get those changes made this year and next year to hopefully address some of those concerns with those math scores. Do you mind if I finish? So we do have a little bit of a math for that 9th grade. Our district data is showing 55.8, but the state is reporting that we have 51.5, which is what you see on the data in front of you. So we'll dig into where that discrepancy is coming in, because we're seeing that we are meeting the state average for that one. So hopefully that would be one other one we could maybe turn from a red to a black too. So we'll dig into that and see what's the reason for some of that. And then we have a group of students who voluntarily did not do well previously, and so there was some reteaching and some addressing of those students. So it's kind of a little disheartening, right? Because we spend a lot of time looking at these numbers and everything, and then our students, for various reasons that they tried to get to the bottom of, they didn't really do that well. So kind of taking student perspective into concern and how do we motivate our students to do well. And a lot of that is educating them on, we do use this data and we're trying to use it to make things better for you. So we have some of that going on too. Okay, Mr. Verrier?
Sure. So elementary wise, when I looked at it, I saw, obviously, we're above the state average in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for both for all the areas. When I look at this, our math scores typically, I believe in each case, in third, fourth, and fifth, are slightly above our ELA, and that goes back to that curriculum review process that we're in the midst of right now. ELA and social studies are kind of on the top right now of that. Marie and I met today. We're working on site visits to go and see some of the different curriculums that are being used at other schools so that we can send some of our teachers to both look at the social studies curriculums that we're looking at and then also the ELA curriculums that we're looking at. I think when we adopt that at some point here in the near future, that'll bring some alignment and congruency into our ELA curriculum, which I'm hopeful will kind of match what we're doing in math that way, and that we can see some jumps in those scores as well.
Well, thank you very much. I know data and test scores are just one thing, but it's a data point, so I'm glad that we're looking at it and, digging in where we can. So I appreciate it. Any questions to the administration about state testing?
You talked about 5th to 6th grade, but are you guys concerned about 8th grade?
We are concerned about 8th grade, and so that's kind of where we're looking at where are we not teaching essential skills, potentially in 7th or 6th grade, because what might be happening is they're missing some of those skills in 6th and 7th, and it's showing up on an 8th grade test because we don't have the foundational building blocks. And so definitely on the radar of how do we address that, both with our general instruction and with some math intervention as well.
How have we looked over the last 10 years? I mean, and I've been on the board for obviously the longest here, and I don't remember, I know the last few years have not been great, but I don't remember the previous 3-4 years, like 2 or 3 years before that, and even, 6 and 7 years ago. Is there historical data that?
We've got all those other years.
Okay.
I think Rio and us have always been near the top of these, on this kind of measure.
Okay,
We've always been really close to them.
okay,
I think this is kind of about where we've stood the last couple of years. The more interesting historical data is looking at cohorts of classes that they move through.
okay,
Those kids, what's going on.
okay,
Small schools, you got 25 kids in a class, 2-3 kids who excel or don't excel.
Right,
Really
right,
skews your
yeah,
data.
right,
You got
right.
300 kids in class, it's way different. So we are more going to be more fluctuating than
Okay.
bigger schools are going to be.
Well, what was the data for 7th grade last year? Are they comparable what they are for 8th grade this year? It's the
I
same
don't
grade,
have-
ain't they?
I do have that. We can look it up on the national, or the Wisconsin Wise Dash portal, so it's public information. And we did take every single grade level, 3rd through 12th, and we tracked every single year so we could look at their growth. So we are seeing growth, but we aren't seeing as much growth as we would hope to have. I would say that we also understand that the single biggest factor is that general instruction for all of our students. And that kind of comes back to what the professional development has been centered around, in that we're working with CISA to try and really build up our general instruction, because we know that it's like our biggest bang for our buck to try and address that concern that you have.
Not that this helps, but I have looked at the data also last year. We had a color-coded assessments, and it was statewide, and you could see elementary scores typically are stronger statewide. Middle school scores then drop statewide. And around 10th grade, scores start to climb again. So it's not an excuse, it's just obviously, it is a trend that you see statewide, but something that we need to then address and try to bolster at the middle school level.
With so many kids trying to graduate early now, would they be trying to take classes maybe that they're not capable of doing?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think a lot of kids are trying to graduate early because they feel like they're just kind of done with high school and they're ready for the next thing. And they're maybe taking 8 credits for the year instead of 7. And that little bit is just enough to kind of push them over the edge to graduate in 3.5. I don't know if it's necessarily that they're taking classes that are beyond their means.
I correlate a little bit to, I spent some time this evening working with our kindergarten staff, talking with the social emotional pieces with our kindergarten students and what are ways that we can focus on those pieces, because we know that makes it harder for learning if you don't have those pieces, intact. And this is kind of that COVID group of kids that are coming through. So we're really working together to give them that. My correlation to middle school on that is, I think you have a lot in middle school, again, because of the changes that kids are going through, social, emotional needs that pop up when they become 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. That by 10th grade, they've kind of worked through, and that's why you see those scores climb a little bit again in 10th grade. But again, there are things we can do and be active, proactively approaching to help our middle schoolers through that piece.
All right, last call for questions. Thank you for the updates on state testing. All right, we will move on to the 25-26 budgets.
So since Andrew and I have been working on this together, guess who gets to present us tonight?
Save Dennis's voice a little bit for him. So, you're looking at the Fall River budget adoption spreadsheet. It's about 5 pages. I'm not gonna go through it line by line. I'm just gonna highlight some of the main areas and kind of changes that we see from year to year. On the top there, you're gonna see the fund balance for Fund 10. So that's like our general operating fund. We have increased that fund by about $137,000 this year, and our goal is to keep growing that, using the operating referendum dollars, kind of whatever funds we have left from doing projects, we want to put that into our fund balance. And our fund balance is important because it kind of lessens our likelihood of having to short-term borrow when our revenues are a little bit lower for the year. So we want to keep growing that as we can. If you look at kind of halfway down the page, 340, the payments for services. So as Dennis talked about, that's our open enrollment is high, which means we'll be getting a higher revenue for those children. So you can see kind of a jump there, about $228,000 of revenue for those open enrollment kids. Down on, see where it says 620 state aid towards the bottom, you will see our state aid decreased this year by about $260,000. 71% of districts decreased their state aid this year. So we're not alone in that. It's pretty much a statewide thing for all schools.
Yes, your FTE count's going down, you can get less aid.
Right. And so because our aid goes down, then up kind of a quarter way down the page, you'll see 210, our taxes. Because our aid goes down, our taxes have to increase. So that's where you'll see that jump there in the line 210.
Another point on that, you remember when the state budget came out, they did not increase state aid at all. They did a few things, a special item, a couple of things, but they gave no increase in state aid. So since there's no increase in state aid, any increase school guidance revenue limits has to go to taxpayer, because the legislature chose not to add state aid.
And then, let me see where I am here. Okay, I went through that. So on the bottom of that page, 690 other revenue, there is a jump there that includes our sparsity aid that we're receiving and also a per pupil aid increase from last year as well. And then the next page, page 2, near the top is 790, the other federal revenue. Dennis looked for REAP grant money this year and he couldn't find any information on that. So we did budget that as 0. We might have a nice surprise and get that grant money, but we wanted to play it safe and take that out of the budget for this year.
What's going
currently.
on funding at the federal level, we just don't know if that's gonna get funded or not, so we
Right.
don't wanna count on it.
And then moving down to expenditures about halfway through, so we have general increases for salaries and benefits. Also our Fund 27 transfer towards the bottom, it's 410. That has decreased quite a bit because the state did increase special education funding. So because they increased that funding, we then don't have to transfer as much out of our Fund 10 expenditures to cover that. Also right below that is our open enrollment out payments, which as you can see is about 785,000 compared to that 1 million that we're bringing in for open enrolled in students. So that's a nice difference there. That will help. The next page is Fund 27. Basically, that's a transfer in and out from Fund 10 that I just talked about, the 687. So yeah, the state raised their reimbursement rate to 42% this year, which was up from 32% last year, so about a 10% increase there. And then, what's that?
You see that come through in 610?
That's
So-
the state aid. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I was just gonna go through right there. Yeah, 610 is where that comes in. Moving on to the next page, towards the bottom, the debt service, Fund 38 and 39. So we over levied last year to kind of prepare for a referendum and to help make those payments. So this year we will under levy, and so that fund balance will kind of level out a little bit. And yeah, so it does decrease our ending fund balance this year, but we were prepared to do that, to kind of run things that way.
That was part of our strategy to keep the mill rate fairly level. And we've accomplished that pretty well. So we have that extra money in Fund 39. Now we're spending that to keep the mill rate kind of level.
And then Fund 50 on the next page, we have a pretty comfortable fund balance there. We're basically just gonna keep an eye on that. We may gradually raise food service prices, so there's not a big jump one year. But we just wanna keep that fund balance at a healthy level. And then Fund 80, we plan to over levy in Fund 80 this year to cover the door system that we're putting in. For all the rec doors, we're taking that amount from Fund 80. So to plan for those expenses, we will have to over levy in that fund to keep our fund balance at a healthy level as well.
Is there any formulas for the levy like there are in Fund 10, or?
For 80,
For 80,
No.
correct.
whatever is deemed necessary.
Okay.
Did you have anything to
Nope,
add?
nope. I'm here for
Okay.
this.
Do we want to do that right away, or?
No, that's
for
the next,
levy,
that's the
right?
next
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Do you need a roll call or anything, or just a regular?
Regular.
All right. So with that, thank you for walking us through that. I will take a motion to approve the 25-26 budget as presented.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to approve the 25-26 budget.
We have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to the tax levy.
So the next sheet you'll see here, the budget adoption summary. Yeah, that looks like this one. At the top there, you'll see the revenue limit only increased by 0.5%. So we hope to see a bigger jump than that. But because of our decrease in equalization aid, we would have to tax more. So that's where you see that in the Fund 10 levy. That has to increase to cover the loss of our equalization aid. Our all funds tax levy there, which is what we want to approve tonight, is the $4,009,530. You can see under the equalized property value that we did have an increase there of 4.7%.
That's really slowed down.
Yeah, it was 12% there for a while. So that brings our mill rate to $8.28, which is an increase of 10 cents from last year. So like Dennis discussed, and we've kind of talked about before, we kind of manipulate those other levies so that we can keep that mill rate sort of constant, so we're not having big changes from year to year. So that the all funds tax levy and then is what we would want to approve for the night.
And we also strategized how much to use this year on this levy, so that we don't get a low levy, and then I leave and it jumps up. So I think.
It's all my fault.
So, yeah, so it'll stay fairly consistent in how it works. So I want her to make sure she is comfortable, how much we use this year, how much we use next year, so we can keep it as level as possible. And when we get the model, the very model for you, you'll see all that in there, what the projection is. Might have that by the December or January board meeting. And it's got the pupil count at the bottom too, that you saw the pupil count earlier.
And it will help that the property values basically level off to more of a, so that will help next year also again.
Good. Yeah, that 12-13% was like, artificially, it looked like you were having a low mill rate, but the same tax dollars were coming, so.
Okay.
It should stabilize now that everybody's assessments are now year over year. Okay. All right, any question about 25-26 tax levy? Do you remember what the number was that we presented at community?
It was, just a little under that, maybe 100,000 under, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will take a motion then to approve the 25-26 tax levy.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to approve the 25-26 all funds tax levy.
All right, we have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
Jeff, I'll second that.
We have a second by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, and a whole slew of Start College Now.
So, I guess that's me. She didn't tell me that one. Start College Now, so you have all of those applications there. So historically, we allow students to take, I guess I'm going off the cuff here, classes that we do not offer here in Fall River, but they would like access to. And so it's through different variety of colleges. They are here on our campus, but usually they're online or virtual, and those kids are enrolled in Start College Now. You will also see on there that sometimes there's alternates listed, so if they can't get into one class, they would like to potentially then take a different one, because sometimes those classes fill up and they don't have any seat space left, and that's why kids might have some alternates listed.
Does administration have any issues with
We
any of
do
these?
not have any concerns with those.
Okay. I know I love the concept. Any questions? All right, and does anybody want me to take these as separate motions, or I can take as one? All right, we'll do it as one. I will take a motion to approve the Start College Now applications as presented to us in our package.
I'll make the motion to approve the Start College Now applications.
We have a motion by Nate. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Sorry, that was Guy, seconded. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, and alternative education diploma?
It's me too. So you have a write-up in your packet, and I don't need to read that word for word from you, but we have 2 students who are categorized as at risk that we would like to send to the HSED program at Moraine Park. The program is in class at Moraine Park 2 days a week from 9 until 2. And then the other part of that program is they must have a job. And then there's 3 hours that either Moraine Park will supervise that work experience, or we can supervise that work experience. So we've elected to, if you approve this, that we would continue to supervise their work experience, and then we would have the instruction provided by Moraine Park for those 2 students. Let's see. Do you have, I can go into more details, but do you have any questions about what the program all entails, or how it works, or anything like that?
Oh, it's the obvious one. What's the financial implications?
Sure. So the nice thing about this compared to like the GETO 2 program is that we will be billed at the end of the semester for how long they are there. So if it takes a student 4 weeks, we are billed for 4 weeks of time. If it takes a student 12 weeks, we are billed for 12 weeks. So it's on a weekly basis that we would receive that billing. And they have a nice broken down spreadsheet and everything, and they send it to us on a weekly basis so we know what that student's attendance looks like, and as well as kind of where we're at in terms of total hours. There is an attendance component to it, and if students are not attending that program, they can be asked to leave, and then they would come back here, and then we would be educating that student back here in Fall River if the Moraine Park placement does not work.
I don't know do you have a number, if they
I
were
do.
there for what it would cost? Because these alternate placement for students is one of the more tricky things, because some are terribly expensive, And I believe this is the most economical one I've seen in a long, long time, so kudos to
Yep.
these guys for finding this.
So, the current one is at 12 hours a week at $16.55 an hour. We would be charged $198.60 per student for the week. There are a couple of other fees, so, most of the students will take a GED test, and so you're charged them for each test. So each test is $36. The GED Ready test, which is like the pre-test essentially, so they know what to study and get ready for, is $5. If they have to take a retest, it is $6. And then they bring in somebody from outside to Moraine Park to proctor that GED test, and that is $39.75. If you were to elect to have them supervise the work experience, it would be $49.65 or $50 a week, but we are able to do that here, so we would not have Moraine Park supervise the work experience. When we were there, they have some students, if they're really motivated and they have a lot of coursework completed, some kids finish the program in 3 or 4 weeks, and some other kids take up to a semester. And so it kind of depends on the knowledge and skills that those students are going in with, as well as their motivation and how quickly they want to get out of there. So she thought on average, probably between 4 to 8, 10 weeks for a typical student to complete the HSED program. The other component is that we will have to provide transportation for these students to Moraine Park. So the nice thing is we would have 2 students and not just one, and so we would need to get them there by 9 and pick them up at 2 days a week. So it would be Mondays and Wednesdays. And we've talked with Mr. Anderson about the transportation needs if you were to approve it, and we need to do that. I think the last thing is that they have a very tight turnaround time. So if you were to approve it, we could fill out the applications and they could start this next Monday. And they would go in and they would do an orientation, and then by the week after that, they're already working on a GED test or whatever they need to start getting ready and working towards those different academic areas that they need to pass. So they do try and be aware of students' desire to get work done when they're there, and there's not, I wouldn't say a lot of extra, but it's enough to meet students' needs.
Do the 2 students seem to want to do this?
Absolutely. I have not seen both of them this excited about something. And I knew each of one a little bit less, but the other one I had for a long time. And I brought them on a site visit to Moraine Park, and they asked awesome questions. They were asking about continuing ed, and if I complete this program, how could that look in terms of entering one of the trade programs that they have there? And so I was really impressed by their openness to ask questions, but also their desire to put the time and effort into this program because they would like to be done. If this isn't an option for them, I do worry about their ability to stay on track throughout the rest of the school year.
But this does give them a Fall River High School diploma, which is more valuable.
I also was in several meetings with these students, and I would vouch for that, the excitement that they have for attending this program and completing it. I was pretty impressed with one of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very thrilled almost, I would say. So.
Yeah. For them, I think they kind of see it as it's a light at the end of the tunnel. And before they couldn't see it, and they were really struggling with that long term of what am I going to do and how am I going to get there. And the shortness, if you put the time and effort in, is appealing to them, because otherwise I worry about their ability to stay committed.
And to graduate.
So you said it was $198 a week
Per student,
per
yes.
student, so it'd be like $2,000 per student for a 10-week thing, plus some of them testing scores,
Yep.
which would probably add up to about another 100.
Yep. So,
Plus some
it's
transportation,
nice
so that's
that way.
less than $5,000 more than likely.
We've already got that 10 grand.
Huh?
They're already in our pupil counts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's,
Yep.
I'm for it.
So they remain a Fall River student because Moraine Park will communicate with us how they're doing in each of those different content areas. So we can still put their grades into IC for the work that they're completing at Moraine Park.
And then we're supervising that work end of it.
I know I'm supportive, but any other questions? Ms. Cussler? All right, well then I will take a motion, does anyone want me to put these into two motions? All right, well then I will take a motion to approve the alternative education diplomas for the two students as presented.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to approve the alternate education diploma for these two students.
All right, we motion by Ken, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, and we will move on to CISA 5. I was intrigued by this one.
So this is talk about alternative education places. CISA has a number of those around the CISA 5. Ours is Columbia County. We have had students there, none right now, but we have had them there. They had two, one in Wapaka and one in Rapids. They're closing those two and want to put one in Stevens Point. They have someone who wants to donate the land to them. So donate the building to them as probably a tax write-off, I'm guessing. But CISA, since they're a coordination of 35 school districts, they need a certain percent of the school boards to approve their receiving the donation. Same thing if they're buying it. They have to have a certain percentage of the 35 school districts approve that. So if you approve this, that helps them get enough people to say, yes, they can accept the donation of this property.
Go down then because they've got a free building?
Well, our students don't go there.
I'm sorry.
I think it makes sense. Any questions on that?
I don't see a reason.
All right, I will take a motion then to approve the certification for CISA 5 Board of Control resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the CISA 5.
All right, we have a motion by Guy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, then we will move on to principals reports.
All right, I'll get us started. This past Monday, we met with our advisory team. That is a group of staff members and teachers who work with us on our strategic plan. This month, we spent a lot of time talking about just kind of getting a sense of the pulse of the building, where we're at. It's October. We started early. How are things going? And then also getting feedback on the strategic plan that we do have and the steps that we're taking and where we're at in that process. We meet with them throughout the year. What was interesting this month is we spent a lot of time with our staff working on community circles in their classrooms, up from elementary all the way up to high school. And we kind of modeled that within our meeting this month and did the same kind of idea within the meeting of having a community circle to discuss these two different topics. And I think it went really well. And I think teachers appreciated the fact that we were kind of doing that because they have to do that every day. So we were kind of modeling that and doing the same thing. So it went very well, very good feedback. That'll kind of kick us off as we move forward. Dr. Treptow and I, a couple weeks ago, as you recall, there was a student accident out in front of, on the corner here after school one day. I was at a conference that day. Maria and Jenny called me. We talked about it, but Jenny and I ended up going to the village board meeting, the last one they had here in October, just kind of giving our support. One, to thank emergency services, but then two, to also give our support and collaboration with the village. There are things that they need from us on safety pieces that they're thinking about, as that corner is not necessarily the district's corner, but how can we partner with them if there are going to be positive changes, whether it's a three-way stop or other potential solutions on that area. Because I drive that every day, and I think, we all drive that. And it can be trickier, I think, for kids to navigate that intersection. So Jenny did a great job just throwing our support and working with the village to find creative solutions on that. I attended the WCAS conference. It's a special education conference. I did that about 2.5 weeks ago, same time as that accident. But it was 2 days at the Wilderness, and I got a chance to, hit a lot of different legal seminars and sessions and key topics around special ed. But but then also collaborate with other directors, because it's all the directors in the area, and many of them I know, but you never really have that time just to kind of sit down, process, and talk about different situations you have. I was able to come back, put a presentation together, and during our last special education team meeting, presented to them just some of the key aspects and takeaways that I had from the conference. Different legal, special ed's a lot of legalese. There's just a lot of that, and spent a lot of time just kind of covering some of those things with staff. And they asked a lot of great questions. Some of it, for some of them who are veteran, it was reminders, but some of it was new information that was pertinent to what we're doing now. So I thank you for allowing me to go to that. We have finished Ames Web testing. That is our reading screener in grades K through 3. We are now done with that. I have written the first grade through 3rd grade dismissal plans for students who no longer need a personal reading plan. I finished that. That was one of my goals today, and finished that up tonight. And then also the teachers, Dory Milbrandt Cool, who is in for Jenna Hunter, and I have also been working to update kids who are on current personal reading plans or new ones, and getting those taken care of as well. We'll meet starting next week with each grade level to kind of talk about where we're at in that process. My hope is that we can get letters sent out to families soon, here early in November, and that way when Jenna Hunter comes back, we have all of that kind of in place, because this is something Jenna typically does. So have all these pieces in place for her when she returns from her maternity leave. I will say we are down significantly on the number of personal reading plans that we have, which I'm excited to see. Maria and I met today. We are, like I said earlier, we're working on site visits. I won't hit too much on this. Working on site visits for our social studies and ELA curriculum review process to kind of look at different resources that we're looking at potentially bringing to you for adoption in the future. So that will be coming up. I'm hopeful that that'll happen sometime here in November, December, and get those site visits scheduled and get the teachers sent out. The trick is subs. So we're going to work through that process also. It's been finding subs. If you know anybody who wants to be a sub, Fall River is a great place to be a substitute teacher. So tell them, come, we want you. So that's been kind of the challenge though. So any questions? All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll give you my assistant principal report, and then I will touch on a few things that Dr. Treptow wanted you to know about today. So I had the wonderful opportunity to chaperone the homecoming dance, and Lindsay mentioned the location at Fat Apple Farms, and it worked out really, really well for a high school dance. I thought it was a great setup for us. They were really, really wonderful to work with, and all of the kids had a great time. They were dancing from right after Grand March until we turned the lights on at 10 o'clock. So almost 2 hours of dancing. I was amazed. There were kids out there the entire time. So that was really fun to see all of them out there together enjoying each other. My favorite moment though was when, I don't even know what song it was, but all the kids, they made a big circle and their arms are around each other and they all did this dance together. But it was really cool. There wasn't a single person that was excluded. They were all in there together, and so that was a really cool sight to see. So also, what was it? Hey there, Delilah. Well,
Can you
nice.
show us the dance?
What's that? The DJ, yeah, of course. Thank you, Mr. Keller, for DJing. And also thank you to Nurse Jessica and Kelsey Schlief as the student council advisors. They were also there chaperoning. So we had a good time, and I made it out of there at a good time. I don't know about you, Mr. Keller. What time did you leave?
A little bit later than you did.
Yeah, a little bit. He had to clean up his equipment, but cleanup was easy. We didn't have food. All we had was water bottles, and so that part went pretty quick. So the kids had a great time, and it was good to see them all having fun. Ryan's kind of spoke too about the curriculum review process. They have tasked me with supporting year 2, so that's K-12 ELA and then K-12 social studies. So we're just working on making sure that those teachers can see those programs in action. And I think the best part about it then is they can ask the teachers after they observe them teaching with those materials, What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And then they can decide if it would be a good fit for our school after speaking to somebody who's already used it, as opposed to just looking through the materials as you sit there and thinking, yeah, this will work, but now they get some real experience with people who have put it into practice. So I think that's a nice part about the way that we've structured that curriculum review cycle.
I'd also like to just give you some kudos for taking that on, because that's the group I had last year. It's been nice having Maria, because one of the things as a result of her being here was that she was able to take that piece. Dr. Treptow is taking year one, and then I'm taking the special ed group. So in my dual role, sometimes you're trying to do both, but you can't be at two places at once. So that's been nice to be able to dedicate some time to the special ed staff to give them some training and just feedback and time just to collaborate and talk.
Yeah. I've also been spending some time working on our vertical alignment. We haven't rolled all of it out to teachers yet, but I'm trying to get a lot of the legwork done so that once we do have them use that material, a lot of it's already done for them, and they're just pulling it out and seeing how they can implement it and make some changes, as opposed to them uploading documents and figuring out what prompts am I going to use, how am I going to pull out what I need to. So I've been spending a fair amount of time trying to get all of that done with the AI product called Notebook LM. And it's nice because it just pulls from whatever we give it. So if we give it curriculum maps and we give it standards and we give it our ladders and all those other pieces, it just takes it from what we give it. It doesn't use everything out there under the sun. So it's very specific to our current needs. So it's a pretty cool program once you know how to use it. I did the site visit to Moraine Park with those students. It was fun to see them in a different light. I spend a lot of time on attendance. Mr. Crombie and I are trying to work on some new ways to get kids who maybe struggle with attendance. So we kind of had a cool one today. I have to talk to a student tomorrow. But instead of just, you're not here today and you're supposed to be, it's unexcused, you get a lunch detention, it's not working. So we're going to try a different route and see if we get some success. But it's nice to have a little bit of time in that working partnership, that we can try something different that we think will work for this specific student, as opposed to like a one-size-fits-all approach. Behavior and discipline, also a decent chunk of my day. I'm trying to take more of it as it comes in so that Dr. Treptow has time for some other priorities. My biggest goal for myself as I deal with discipline is to make sure that I always let the teacher know this is what happened. So they're not left hanging or wondering what happened, did the office even do anything? So it takes a little bit of extra time, but I'm hoping that the teachers see that and appreciate that I'm trying to fill them in with what we did in the office. As we look ahead, I sent out the email for course proposals for next year. So we'll see, they're due November 7th. I'm kind of excited. I like scheduling and all of that fun stuff. And they like it that I like it. And so hopefully here we'll be able to bring some course proposals to the education committee. And then hopefully the course handbook will be ready for the December board meeting for you to all take a look at. And then the last thing I have on my list is that CISA 5 in November. I'm going to take Mr. Shepard, Ms. Smith, Mrs. Powers, Ms. Holman, and Mr. Crombie. And we're going to go to CISA, and it's called Collaborative Pathways to Middle School Student Success. So I'm really hoping that we walk away with some good concrete ideas and steps of things that we can bring back to our middle school for our students. All right, and then Dr. Treptow said big thank you to Kelsey, Jessica, and student council members. Homecoming is no small feat to pull off, but we definitely love the increase in positive school spirit that comes with it, so that's priceless. Our PD day that we had on the 26th, we were working on one of those strategic goals that our advisory committee created. So we were working on our WIMLs, which is the Wisconsin MLSS, our systems of support, and then UDL, so Universal Design for Learning. We gave teachers some additional time to work on some curriculum components in the afternoon, because that's always a time-consuming thing and there's never enough time in a day. And then we're also working on building community and increasing the positive culture with our staff and students. Dr. Treptow and I both attended the NHS induction on the 8th of October. Big thank you to Mr. Wenzel and the NHS officers for putting together a really nice ceremony. We had some cake and ice cream afterwards, and it was really nice to see the kids all dressed up and honoring their academic achievements. Let's see, parent-teacher conferences were on the 9th of October. We had a busy week that week. We had really good attendance. It's nice to see the building abuzz with parents in the evening and not just, with students during the day. So it's nice to see parents in a different light, and we had lots of good conversations, and I would say they were very well attended. Let's see, Robin Hood and His Merry Men. It's going to be November 14th and 15th. They're hard at work at play practice. 7 p.m. if you can attend. I think it should be a good show. My 4th grader walked by them rehearsing today and said, "Mom, I can't wait to see that." So you got one 4th grader who wants to see it, so on the way to that. And then the last one is Dr. Treptow is also working on reviewing our crisis plan. So we're doing some revisions, and then we will bring that to the board approval. She's hoping next summer or possibly in the spring, depending on when we get that all updated. That was a lot. Questions?
No, for me.
Okay.
Thank you. And Mr. Burr?
So what I have in my reports, most of what I spent the time on, and what you heard already from me tonight, is keeping the referendum things and projects on track, and then training. You heard about policy committee, and you saw Andrea give her report tonight after we did all that. Plus, she's also been doing a lot of state reports with me, so that when she does them next fall, she has done them already and gone through. So we've been able to spend a good amount of time together. I got a couple more reports I'm going to show you, by the way.
Can't wait.
And the last thing I want to mention is he talked about the student accident. If you look at the upcoming newsletter, Chief Ron and I co-wrote an article to the community and parents and kids about safety around the school area, not just at school, but the most dangerous part is the perimeter around school. And Brent knows what this is like, so trying to remind people about the safety measures that we all should be taking.
All right, any questions for Dennis? Well, thank everybody. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, John.
Motion by Guy. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. 7:17. Thanks all.
Hey, Nate.